Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? How was your weekend? I hope you guys are ready to have a productive week, and we're back with our weekend review with my colleague Demeka. Today we'll be starting our episode with a very interesting topic that I personally know that you're very interested in, and you wanted to talk about this for a very long time. So what do you have for us as an icebreaker for this episode?
Hi, Zaka.
Okay, sorry, hi.
Yeah, I really wanted to talk about this for a very long time, actually. We have discussed these topics off camera, me and you, several times, actually. So I want to paint a picture for you and for my audience at home. There's a farmer who lives in Ethiopia. He's in a rural part of Ethiopia. Let's say he grows wheat. And there's a farmer in America which grows the same wheat at the same time. Then these days, the weather is unexpected. Our weather patterns are unexpected, or they're not what we are used to. Yes, there are some meteorological ways to determine the weather in the coming days, but we cannot predict the patterns, especially on our level, on our technological advantages. The farmer who's living in the remote part of America can use the products of AI and machine learning to predict the patterns of the weather, to predict when is the perfect time to plant the seeds, to predict the health of the soil, what chemicals they should use, what pesticides they should use.
That is so true.
So we are a country who needs more products and who needs our farmer to produce more than twice a year. But we still have the disadvantage of not being able to have the AI or machine learning technology to implement or help our farmers to grow bigger. In the allocation on the use of AI is beating us again.
Yeah.
In a craft we have been doing for thousands of years. You see where my concern lies?
Exactly.
So to define it, my topic today is the availability of AI for developing countries and the unfair advantage it brings for developed nations regarding to developing countries.
One thing that I would love to add on this topic is that I feel like it's not like yes, that is true that we have other concerns, other priorities that we give currently as a continent. There's instability, people are migrating, a lot of people are dying, there's climate change. So all those things together, we don't have the time or the energy to think about AI and how we can incorporate it in our daily lives. But at the same time, I feel like it's still our responsibility. It's not like they might be doing it on purpose, but at the same time, it is our responsibility to do what we have to do to keep up and to be in the game.
That is very true.
So who's responsible to ask?
So there's a lot of things we have to see to the answers that. For example, let's see the previous trends on technological revolutions. Let's take the industrial revolution that happened and where Africa was regarding the industrial revolution. Prior to the industrial revolution, slaves from Africa and minorities were basically the steam and manpower that were driving the world economy, and before they were replaced by machines. So this created a huge gap between developed nations and Africa, or any developing nations all around the world. You might take China at that time and India at that time as well. The same thing is happening now. AI is a revolution. AI is a technological revolution which we are not prepared to handle. Africa's development, or many developing countries' development, is focused on two things. It was industry and export. So most countries focused on industry might be agriculture, modern industrialization, and so on, and export, in trade between two countries or more countries. That is the main development strategy many countries follow. It might be energy export, it might be natural goods export, or it might be treasures, and so on, or opals. So most African economy is dependent on that, or it's dependent on providing developed countries with the resources that they need. So they have put us in a situation where we provide the raw materials, they process it and sell it back to us.
In a very high price.
In a very high price. So don't you think the same thing is going to happen with AI? Let's see finance. The Westerns or developed nations who have more access to AI are using AI to determine better algorithms, to determine better market trends, to predict market trends. so they can invest their money wisely and grow their portfolio or grow their wealth as a country, as a nation, and as an individual as well. Let's go to the medicine. They use AI to find different mixtures of different chemicals for a specific kind of medicine that could not have been found before. They could use AI to synthesize different elements.
To do a surgery.
You could use AI to do surgery. They already use AI to read X-rays. And in some facts, it's better than humans. It can predict cancer, if there is cancer, before a human eye can. Let's go to military.
Which is very important for one state.
We've talked about this previously, the advancement of AI in weaponization of a country. That's really dangerous, which we don't have access or infrastructure for. And the fourth one, and usually neglected one, is we usually say AI will replace jobs, right? So it will not only replace jobs, it will also make productivity better in industries, which will lead developed nations to stop outsourcing manufacture to developing nations.
Which is a risk for us.
Because it is a risk for us. In addition to this, they can also make technologies they already have better. They have the resources to do so. So we might ask ourselves, so why don't we just focus more on AI? Why don't we build ourselves towards AI when we come to your question? It's not easy. So AI is a huge infrastructure which needs data that you feed it, processing units, which are some bigger than parks, and which consume a lot of energy and a lot of computational power, a lot of technologies that we are yet to acquire, and a lot of literacy that we need to understand. But on the other side, when you see the lower wage people or people in the lower class outnumber people in the higher class or outnumber the people who are developing the AI. So technically, if you think about it, we are feeding the AI the knowledge that it needs to be created. Because if we are feeding, because all our private information is not guarded, or there is no law that guards lower
personal information.
Yes, especially when you come to third world countries, we have no control over our data or what happens to our data. So they process everything based on our data, but we can't still outreach it. The other thing is infrastructure. 30 to 40% of Africans have access to the internet. 60%.
Which is more than half.
Which is more than half. Not only that, some African nations, consideration of internet is literally Facebook only, because Facebook would be free in that specific area. So their scope of internet knowledge is based on that, because that's what they can access locally and for free. Internet is expensive, there's no infrastructure, there's no transfer of knowledge. There are some minor projects that are started here and there, but they are not there yet.
Exactly, implemented yet.
This is my fear. And our generation really needs to wake up and at least try to use this tool to the best of our ability. But it's up to the younger generation, yes. It's up to the government as well. Because when you think about it, we do not move from the growth that we talked about earlier, the standard industry and export business. The world is now at finance and technology exchange business. That's what wealthy countries are trading to grow their wealth. So we have to somehow come to that.
I think the biggest problem that our government or the responsible bodies are mistakenly understanding is that whatever works for the Europeans or Americans doesn't mean it's going to work for us. Like the policies, the strategies, every single thing. We, as an Africans, we have our own culture, we have our own history, we have our own questions. So even the psychology of the people is different. So I cannot say just because it worked there doesn't mean it's going to work here. And on top of that, what I believe is that the governments, sadly and unfortunately, governments here in Africa don't serve the people as they should. Either they're corrupted, or majorly it's corrupted, or it's more of influence of the European power. So as long as the government is not there to speak up for the people, as long as the government doesn't prioritize the people's need and problem, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And when we talk about AI and the influence, majority of their, what do you call it, materials that they need to create all those technological advancements is from Africa. They cannot survive a day without Africa. So what I believe is that we need a serious mind shift, a mindset change, even on the society, because the government is a reflection of the society. So if the society is healthy enough, if the society is well prepared to lead as a society, if we have a strong structure there, then our government will be a reflection of that. That's what I believe. So, and also when you really think about it, you've mentioned that China, India, back then at the Industrial Revolution time, they were trying to develop, and now look where they are. So what is the difference that we have? Why can't we grow? What did they focus on first? You see, they didn't focus on what the Europeans were focusing on back then. They started to create a very good social structure
that works with their tradition.
Exactly. So now when you see them, they have their culture and they're developed. The people have like equal and right of access to education, healthcares, and like social infrastructures. So I feel like right now what we have to do is there needs to be, again, a really strong, which the shift is happening right now, on the youth, on the government, so that we can understand what we have to do, and we have to understand and create the right policy that works for us and put the people first.
That is very true.
Yeah, there are a lot of news that we hear all across Africa that challenge and that makes us see where we're at as a people, as a nation. So Burkina Faso, the military leader, Ibrahim, has dismissed the prime minister and dissolved the government, which is a very huge action. And in fact, things that are happening around West Africa currently is surprising other African countries and also the whole world, because they're taking moves, like bold moves against European powers. This, especially, we know that Burkina Faso has been under the military lead for like now almost 2 years, 2 or 4 years, yes, in between that. And through that time, what the government or the current leader is trying to do is create a strong sovereignty and putting what we were talking earlier, putting the needs of the people first, and actually cleaning out the European powers, especially the relation that they had with France. And now they're shifting to Russia. Especially countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, all those 3 countries are now together. They are trying to create their own currency that they will trade
between each other.
Between each other, so they will have one currency, which they're trying to take steps, again, bold and actual implemented steps. And at the same time, they are clearing out different bases, European country bases, military bases outside of their country, and they're shifting their alliance from that side to Russia, more of. So what is it for us to learn from this? This is something that we should ask as a nation again. At the same time, this is something very unexpected, but people first kind of policy like America is using, or Donald Trump will be applying on the US, is something that countries like Burkina Faso is trying to create. And they have created, amazingly, their own alliance called Alliance of Sahel Region. So once you create like such kind of alliances, you'll be supporting each other economically, culturally, socially, which will help you create that natural and healthy interdependency to grow as a region and also as a country. And this is something surprising. What do you reflect on this?
I want to stay in West Africa. It's a very interesting topic you raised, because somehow similar things are happening in the 3 countries you mentioned. And I really want to talk about what's happening in Niger right now. So Niger is known for its uranium reserves. Uranium is mainly the main ingredient to create nuclear energy or nuclear missiles or nuclear powered submarines. Anything you mentioned, they would need uranium for it. That's the main source. And Niger is blessed with uranium. Naturally, as most African nations are. So Niger has taken the license of a French state-owned nuclear energy industry.
Wow.
Yeah, which has been mining uranium in Niger for more than 50 years. The company's name is Orange. And this is very interesting.
It
Yes.
is, yeah.
Yes, there are a lot of sides to this story. One is Niger trying to take back control of their natural resources. The second is this huge movement that is started against the francophone or the French economy system that it created for the Western African after colonization. And the third is there is a sense of neo-colonization in the sense of French or France involving in all major industries in the country. And that is true.
Especially countries that were colonized by France.
Yes, because France holds a major role in Niger's energy and resources, natural resource mining industries, and have taken control since the end of colonialism. For this, Niger has not been getting much. France is one of the biggest and wealthiest countries in the world. But yet, Niger is one of the poorest countries in the world. 5% of Niger's total income or total wealth created per year comes from uranium, which the state doesn't own, imagine. So there are the goods and the bads that Niger did this. There's always the negative sides. So what are the negative sides? Let's start from that. One is Niger does not have the capacity to take out the resources itself.
I mean, it's fine, let's just keep it. I mean...
But that creates the issue where it was actively providing 5% of the country's economy per year. They could not lose that money. 5% is a lot when it comes to a country. And they also lack the infrastructure to do so, because all the infrastructure was systematically owned by French business owners or the French government, which they will take with them when they are out of the country. Niger grew its alliances with BRICS, especially with Russia and China, trying to find alternative ways to take out the mines from China by the help of China or Russia. Still, it's a win-lose situation. We were not able to be self-sufficient, but at least
choosing the right allies is
choosing the right allies in their perspective and having the power to choose your ally. That's the main part. Having the power to choose who you work with is the main power. So this is still a developing country, and this is still a developing story. Russia has promised and signed deals with many African countries for development of nuclear power, including Ethiopia. The same thing will happen in Niger. But it will also be met with huge sanctions from the West, especially forced from France in the EU and also in the European Union and by the United Nations as well. So there will be tariffs, trade restrictions, and also they will stop funds in charities. But what are the Niger saying? They're saying we don't need charity. We want to be treated equally, and we want opportunity to deal in businesses as equal as you trade with other countries. We want to own our resources. We want to define the term of how we sell the resources, or who helps us take out the resource, or if we are going to be the ones who are taking out the resources. So this movement is spreading across Western Africa. And it's really beautiful to watch, but at the same time, it's really scary. You know what the bear does when it's poked?
Exactly. But I think when you're deciding such kind of decisions, there are going to be some challenges, and you have to prepare yourself for that. And also, even when you're shifting your partners that are going to be working in such kind of areas, you should be smart enough to know that you're not going to fall in the same cycle. You know, because there is this set mindset that is spread all across the world about how they see Africa and Africans. So it doesn't matter whether it's China, Russia, France, or any other countries. They all have different angles they see Africans or Africa. So how are you actually dealing it, and how are the people involved in that process? You know, the people have to know. People have to know what's going on in the country. And they should be part of the process. because the government, again, is the voice of the people. It's not like the government is doing everything by itself. So I think that's very such a nice thing. As you said, it's scary, but it's a good scary. And I'm so happy for Niger, and I hope this kind of movement will spread all across Africa.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I mean, let's go. How are you on films? I know you love films.
Yes. Obviously. Yes.
So yeah, like in northern part of Africa, Morocco, there is this film festival called Marrakesh Film Festival that is happening for the 21st first years, which means it's like it has been
once every year for 21 years.
Exactly.
So it's been here for 21 years.
21 years, I'm telling you, and different people from all across the entertainment industry will come, premiere their films, show their trailers, and it's just like it's a festival of one of the biggest festival that happens here in Africa and all across the world.
Celebrates movie.
Exactly. And the most interesting part is, especially when we talk about tourism, we lack a lot of things. We think that you only show your old buildings,
ancient structures,
exactly, and historical places. But even your food there is a food tourism that people can come all across the world to try and to eat your food. Your culture, like your dance, your outfit, that is all part of tourism.
Medical tourism.
Medical tourism, exactly. There are different and a lot of spheres of tourism. And Marrakesh, I feel like they understood that assignment, because now when people are going to Marrakesh, they to attend this festival, which thousands of people go to, they make sure that people go something. You know, something. They make sure that they exchange their culture. They make sure that people try their traditional food. People see their traditional dance. How vibrant.
It's an investment.
It's an investment. So they make sure that the way you see Marrakesh is shifted when you go back home, and you promote it the right way.
To mention regarding the film industry in Africa, have you recently noticed the animation industry in Africa is growing really fast?
Yes.
It was around $12 billion in earnings in 2023. And it's still growing faster than anyone can predict. And there's one key reason to it. There is so many untold stories, folks, tribal histories in Africa that are so beautiful in animated storytelling. And animators all around the world are taking notice. And local animation artists are finally getting the technology that they need, because not the technology being cheaper, the technology is being more available all around the world, because it's more software based now, the animation. And many talents are growing. And the second thing is the demand is growing, because Africa is, as you know, youth-led. More than half of Africa is under the age of 60, and it's a youth-led continent. So it's really amazing to watch, and it's really exciting to see the things that are going to come up, because the stories we know, even I'm sure you know one or two stories where you wish you had an animation reference of that story, that it would be beautiful. And I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I mean, we should start telling our stories from our angle and our perspective. That is so true. Thank you so much for sharing what you have seen the past weekend.
Thank you so much for having me, Dakish.
The pleasure is all mine. So guys, this is what we had for you guys this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know what is it that you have found that is such an appealing news on our short SMS 6121. And as in for our digital media audiences, please feel free to go below this video, share us what you have in mind, let us know about the topics that we brought, and feel free, we'll come and check it out and bring it back to you guys. Again, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.